that whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there everyone, and welcome to this video topic with me about mastering sacred sexuality. So in a way, this video will be kind of an overview of this topic, which doesn't just include certain portions of what we might consider it to be. So this will be a very broad presentation of everything that I'm noticing, that I'm being shown, that I know myself as a conscious master of life force, that is really important, and what impacts our reality, and how can we improve in a way of non-forcefully improve or refine, to better say, our connections through our inner understanding of this sovereignty within our sacred sexuality. So why is this so important? It's because we here as humans, as you know, my videos are also in a way very much aligned with not just information and knowledge, but most specifically with how to bring this higher presence of divine love and anchor it into every realm of our human experience. So I always present you, knowledge mixed with love. That's what it's all about. So when we talk about the nature of sacred sexuality, it doesn't just include like a tiny portion of something that we might as humans reference as that which we perceive it as sexual. Sacred sexuality, as in opposition to the essence of what we call sex or sexual act, is something completely different, because the sacred sexuality is our authentic expression. So it is the authentic expression of our divinity represented in form. So how we are creatively engaging with and expressing our own life force. So how spirit uniquely translates through us. There is no comparison to how this is created within us with any other aspect, any other being, nothing in particular, because it is so unique to each and every one of us. So in this video, I want to talk about how to master that. What are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the hooks that we don't always notice as humans in development, that I also notice through my own interactions when people kind of correspond to me or write to me or share their perceptions, of reality with me. And also, I want to start at the very beginning, but I want to, really stretch out this topic beyond what you might hear or think it to be just from the title itself. So sacred sexuality is the uniqueness of your creative life force. So it is implemented with you just existing, just being, just breathing, and that is already, you don't have to do anything to be sexually active in that way, because we are creative beings. That means we're sexually producive and cultivating beings, and that's the path that I always tell you about, the Tantrika life force mastery path of a conscious human master who understands the principles of creation and how they can apply them through their own physical human bodies. So the more we deepen understanding of this, the more we'll see that, the area that we once thought was sexuality is kind of becoming the reality of all. It's all inclusive. So the eros part is just a very tiny part of what sacred sexuality means. So it is based on the essence level. While sex in itself, as humans we term it, or sexual act, is just an act. And it is like an event. It is something you do. While the sexuality is a state of our being. And therefore, I want to show how your conscious energy emanations, which are infinite, they're always looping. They're kind of like, being awakened or evoked within you, and then they travel out, they reverberate, and of course they also touch other people. That's why it is so important, especially in this hyperactive, entangled world, also full of energetic links and hooks as well, and attached relationships, and how to move beyond this, how to move into our true sovereignty, because there is a huge difference between us as human beings reflecting essence of the self to each other, which is a source quality, in relation to being sovereign, or projecting. So you see something, you put your own perspective onto it. Well, that thing in itself is not necessarily that, but because you perceive it in such a way, it means you are in a way reacting to that energetic response, whether it's from another person, or whether it is from something you're viewing or observing, because you know the consciousness that observes anything is already putting its own input into that which is observing. That's why, you know, people, when I'm exposed like this via these videos, they will have different interpretations of me. There will be numerous implications of what I'm about, what people perceive me to be, and yet at the very core that has absolutely nothing to do with me and my very essence. So people might engage with tiny parts, tiny reflections, and I'm using myself, of course, as an example. It relates to anything in life. And for us to move into the angelic essence and develop our angelic qualities, which are the higher density qualities, and bring them into this world of matter so that we can coexist as sovereign spirits with each other without projecting and generating first energetic responses through our sovereignty before we act or, you know, react to other people, or, you know, create some sort of energetic responses to the people and to other aspects of life itself. So sexuality, again, is the essence level self-expression, because in truth, the more you see things from a spiritual perspective, you see sexuality is in form of creative life force moving, and as it's moving, it's expanding and it's creating life. So people who are, in a way, very much masters of their life force, these people are very charismatic, and they will reflect very strongly the source energy to other people. I will share my own experience, and I have to, because I'm noticing a certain pattern that's becoming quite repetitive. And when something is like that, I always know there's a message, and I really commune with spirit. I ask what's meant to be shared, because as you know, I like to share personally, not just the depersonalized view of ascension, because it's naturally what we're about. In many cases, it's not always practical, because when you do things a little too personally, people take it sometimes too personally, and it's not what it's about. It's about the experience of sharing, so the integration process can be, you know, at its maximum level of understanding, because the approach is more grounded. So this the charisma that is, in a way, the development of your life force mastery is getting stronger and stronger the more you start to translate life force, and the more illumination, or, you know, requirement for illumination you establish within your physical body. So you might have an immense level of light, but because you have not yet learned how to create conscious life force mastery so that that light can be brought into form, you might stay in the background, or you might never get acknowledged, or you don't have the right self-consciousness to kind of, you know, influence reality through your own creative conscious expressions, or what you're simply putting out there, let's call it like that. So our authentic charisma is interdependent with the life force translation that we have, you know, we have in a way established within our human framework, because our divinity is more and more translating over to the human side. You know, it's getting more and more unified, up to the extent where you no longer see yourself as, you know, just divine or just human. You simply are this beautiful divine being who's in this conscious engagement with life. So why is then so important to master energetic responses with others, so that we stay in the source energy of reflection, you know, rather than stay in the projective energy? Because it is still happening so much in our planet, and I see it even in the conscious or spiritual communities. It is present at such a large degree, because people have not yet learned or mastered entirely what pure reflection is about, because we still have tendencies, beliefs, expectations, things we feel we need, we want, and we haven't found a way to translate them as an internal process within the life force mastery. So sometimes we see what we like, or we want to interact or exchange with something because we think, well, that's it, that's what we need. But remember, if you haven't done that translation of life force and giving yourself what you need first internally through spirit, then the outer level will not vibrationally manifest or reflect that. And that's the whole meaning of reflection through the law of resonance, because and many times people think, well, that's my mirror, or that's my reflection. Yes, in the source level, it's true, because we are all reflections of each other. We all reflect source energy to each other. But then there's also this creative engagement with our unique charismatic essence, our unique life purpose, and the drive of that which makes us actually different and unique. And this is what a lot of times people forget. So in many cases, when people think, well, that's my resonance, or that's what I need, you know, or that's the person I need, or that's the person I really want to be a part of their life, is not necessarily truly that which we have first invited through this process of life force mastery within ourselves. And that's why I'm telling you the sacred sexuality path is not just about the part that we call the eros, and the sexual engagement where we truly, we come into the act that we call the sexual act. And when we together create this tantric exchange of energy, we will move into that part and what's really important in the second part. But Spirit really is urging me to talk about this before we go into that, because there's still a lot of entanglements and disempowerment occurring. And a lot of times in spiritual communities, a lot of times in the internet communities. Why? If you've noticed yourself, this trend of online relationships is increasing. And when I share my videos, for example, when I put my work out there, that is still in resonance with the aspect that's my mission, that's my work, that's driving me to put these things out there. A lot of people who might witness or view that will kind of misplace that for my personal life, and yet it's not. Of course, there's a beautiful interactive essence, which is an interplay of that which we might say work, play, work, personal, private. But although I need to be in a way publicly out there for me to even share my messages, otherwise I can't get these messages across. And because it is a part in this segment of the now, it is a part of my purpose, yet even the tiny one, and yet it still is, because I'm being called to it, and that's the whole reason for it. And because of that, that still aligns with that which is my mission, and it's mission driven, and it's being propelled through my heart. A lot of times what I put out there is misinterpreted for, ooh, that's the heart resonance. I want that as well. Can I be a part of it? Can I be a part of your life? Can I be a part of what you're doing? And I've always shared with you that this path, which I'm showing you, is a path of self-mastery. And I'm going to share with you a very, kind of like a topic that's being put in front of my face right now, because I had a few examples and I felt the message really wants to come out. And I've asked Spirit, well, what's the whole reason for it? Because if there's more than 3 times something repeats itself or comes into your conscious awareness in your sacred space, there's a message there. And my messages are always for the group. So a lot of times the projection, instead of this reflection where we are simply adoring and admiring someone else's essence and what they're doing, and we're admiring their creations, and perhaps we're learning from them, but it's not the same as what we consider them to be. And this is where a lot of question marks come into play, because we still, as humans, I see that often people don't want to acknowledge their part in this play. Everyone thinks, well, I know everything. No way, not me. But that's what's called the shadow aspect. And the shadow, it doesn't mean, oh, you're evil or you're not a good person or something bad about you. The shadow simply means something that you haven't acknowledged about yourself yet. It hasn't come fully into the light. It hasn't perhaps fully matured itself in your cycles of experience as being a human being. And the reason why our human experiences are so important, because the downplay of this right forward healing is the human experience. That's the gift of it. And a lot of times people seek, in their own inner resolution, they seek for some sort of metaphysical, spiritual healing. While in fact, many times they negate the human experience, and where the healing that can occur only through your justified human experience, and that denial will bring that denial of the shadow. And this is what I perceive and I'm shown as the shadow. It's not, the shadow is not darkness that you would say it's bad. That's a whole different topic, good versus evil. That's not about that. That is simply the unacknowledged aspects we hold because we haven't fully mastered ourselves, our sovereignty, our life force translation, culmination, and creative expression, because that's why we're here. Each and every one of us will have a different experience in life. We will have different notions, and although we are one, we're unified, there are still going to be segments of our life that feel sort of, this is that, and we need to separate that so that people sometimes don't misplace something for something else. Because in my work, or in my line of work, because it's not just about information, there's also the feedback that comes from people. I experience multitudes of responses, and somehow I myself, in order for even to survive, because there's just one of me and there's so many people tuning in, or sometimes writing and expressing, sometimes having personal requests or demands from me, which I personally cannot at all fulfill, because that's not why I'm here. I can only fulfill the mission part, and that's it. So in that way, I also have to, it's kind of like filtering through all the information that comes back as that input output, kind of like a flow. So I want to say something here, and it's again, it's not meant to be anything judgmental, critical, because I don't at all, engage with the world that way. But I do share what I experience, and it is important because the mastery comes through the human experience. Let us not forget that, okay? So recently I have noticed an increased response to my energy, to what I put out there, in people asking or demanding certain personal things from me. And I've been going through this energetically, and I've been tuning in. I've been really contemplating, because I like to consciously respond to things rather than react. But when something is really repeating, I ask myself, what are we mastering here? And what is my approach of the highest good, of the highest order supposed to be here? And as always, as a spirit guide, I need to put these messages out there because that's a part of their human growth and evolution. A lot of times people don't have this filter which tells you, well, this is that person, and although they're sharing something, they're doing this, they have their line of work, I still don't know anything about them. And especially now, this danger is there because of these online things and online relationships, which for me are not true relationships. These are not the nurturing, intimate relationships that you can have when you know someone physically. And it is important because that's, again, the part of the human experience. We might share resonance with people all over the world and everywhere, but still, a lot of us, especially if you're a volunteer soul, you will be called to a very specific line of physical embodiment, a physical presence, a physical community that calls you out. And this is why, for me, I love grounded relationships. I love grounded reality. I have my personal life, which in a way has nothing to do with what is the part of my mission. And it is, in a way, it's one, and yet it's also different. So how I am, what I am, how and what guides me in my personal life cannot be rendered into this little tiny facet, a droplet that people look through the videos. So recently, when I contemplated this, when people are sharing these long letters and the responses to what I share, a lot of them, is resonating with my energy in terms of, wow, I found someone I can share with. That's my sister, or that's, they want some kind of proximity. They want some kind of closeness. They want to create something, and they kind of have these requests from me, how that can be a part of their life. And although in many cases I'm deeply honored, I really am, for people to resonate so much that that part of them gets reflected, that that part of them calls them out. And yet again, I have to say, it really also does not have to do anything with me in terms of my physicality and my personal work. So I'm not a famous person, as you know. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a spirit guide. But even my line of work has brought me to situations where I had to deal with stalkers, mentally challenged people, psychopaths. There are things like that. People are sociopaths. There's many mind scrambled situations where people have not integrated their soul, and they're acting and reacting in ways that sometimes I can't even believe, but I know it's a part of reality and must be addressed and seen like that. I've dealt with people wanting to, they always have these personal requests, can you do that for me? Can you share this with me? Can you do this? And in a way, it distracts me from the reality of my work. And when I contemplate on that, I always am shown that even though we don't want to acknowledge it, because people always want to be their best right now, and we have to, in order for us to truly develop our righteous nature, not self-righteous, but righteous nature, which is noble and deep and compassionate, we have to address those aspects that are not always completely unconditional. So when I do these messages, and why is this a part of this theme today? It's because it is. It's a part of how you emanate your light, how you not defend your sacred space, but you really own it. And this is a part of this sacred sexuality, which is your charisma that moves out in the world, comes back to you. So mastering your inner reality first, mastering the energetic responses second, and then creating a triad of this infinite loop of spirit connection. So I want to say that this privacy, this physical aspect of my life, which is just me, people who get to know these videos, or get to know a little part of me, they still don't know me. People say I love you, they still don't love me. There's very few people who truly get to me at the essence level. So it's a lot of hidden reality here, what we want to see or want to be or want to embody, but it's not yet there. So I've had people even coming in my sacred space uninvited. I've had to deal with a lot of things, and this is a part of my own conscious life force mastery, because my whole life I've had a very high energy quotient that, of course, it acted as a vortex, because when you do literally own your, your life force translation, people will be kind of like, they will be feeling that, they will be drawn to that like magnets. But it doesn't mean that now, just because you are beaming with light, you're radiating, now everyone is invited in your space. No, that's not unity. Because we have to apply that part, which, that we call the human experience and our human self. And for me, that's my private life. And I don't mix my private life with this work that I do. So for those people who really resonate with me and what I'm about and what I'm sharing, and they know that I came here to teach without teaching, because it's so seamless, it's so deeply engraved. So of course people take you as a sister, people take you as a best friend just by looking at you, because it's seamless. It's not based on a pedestal guru like appearance, because that's not the real new way of teaching. The true teaching is so deeply embodied and grounded that you don't even know it's teaching. You're just growing from it, and eventually go, wow, I've learned so much from it. That's enlightened teaching, because it's not linear and it's not based on hierarchy and who is, teaching, is meant to teach you. It is just completely natural and seamless. So in many cases, because we do it that way, and I do it that way, and it's deeply unconditional, we're not always acknowledged for it, or sometimes we're misinterpreted for it. And people say, oh, I don't want to learn from you, but I want to be your best friend. Well, sorry, buddy, you can't be that in that way, because you have to have respect. And respect is such an important quality that we oversee, because we think, well, we're all spiritual, we're all one, so we can act the way we want with everyone. That's not really mastering life force. I'm sorry. In my own way, I never could, even if I liked someone, or they're what they're an author of, or their book or teachings, I never ever, overwhelm that person with what I see them to be. Very few times. And if I did contact someone, which is maybe 2 times in my whole lifetime, I wrote him about the work and how much I honor their work. I have no requests from them whatsoever, because I see them as a sovereign, unique individual that is on their path. And I, as much as I perhaps, am a part of that path and that creativity for a certain amount of my human reality, it's not perhaps what I'm supposed to be always, interacting with. So this privacy, this respect, this honoring of your sovereignty and therefore sovereignty of another is not the same when, sometimes people, they write to me and they say, I really want this, I really envision this, and many times I've contemplated on how few times people have actually asked me if I agree with that, if I also want the same, if I also want to manifest that, if I want to be a part of that as well. Many times people just assume, and I've also contemplated on this aspect, which is, like I said, I try to do as much as I can, and sometimes for people, it's even that is not enough. And it's funny, because we're looking at these topics, and I'm talking about this with you before we get deeper, because it's important for us to master the whole template of the sovereign self before you start doing the advanced work and refinement. You have to do the basics first. And there's a lot of hidden things there you perhaps are not aware of, and that we need to bring to the surface, to the light, so that it can, that our relationships can interpenetrate each other in a seamless fashion, just as I've shared before, in a seamless way, without trying to hook someone into your reality, into your vision, into what you want them to be in your life. Because perhaps that's not a part of their vision and their reality and their life, because we're all so deeply unique. And on the soul aspect, on the soul essence level, we're already connected. So when I started doing Facebook Live videos, my intention started to get more and more kind of like focused on the people who really enjoy my work, but they also want sometimes to be in the presence of my charisma, my emanation, in a way that they're just there with my presence without wanting something in return, but just really like, having those hangouts, or, doing energy work just by having perhaps fun with each other and just sharing. But I need to say this again, and I don't want to reply to every single email asking me of personal favors, or be my friend, or do this for me, could you be this? Because I've had weirdest requests, in my life. I've witnessed everything, and I do understand, but I'm not a part of that just the same way. because what I've often learned is because I'm so compassionate and considerate, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I really don't want to do anything to, bring a sense of non-value to anyone, because I truly do value everyone, but I gotta walk my own path. I'm the hermit. I'm the teacher here. It's my life purpose. It's in my astrology, or it's in my Dharma path. It's in my heart. And that's all my time and devotion goes there. So everything I do, all my work is group based, because I function on group consciousness level. So whatever I do, I bring out there, it's already for the group. So you're a part of the group, you're enjoying this, you're having resonance, you're already in it. You don't have to have something specific. But in many cases, people say, well, but I want that too. So I was contemplating on this today, and I've asked Spirit and said, why do people always want more? And Spirit showed me that this is a part of the human programming, that because people are not yet fully enlightened, they have this constant thirst for more, which is, of course, the vessel within you, the life force vessel, which is something I show you every single time. Without life force mastery, there is no enlightenment, there is no ascension. There is, even when you think it's going to come through others, or you think you're meant to interact a certain way, because that's new earth and we are supposed to have these enlightened communications and interactions, well, not without us being enlightened within our own sovereign domain first. So we have to get right down to this path, and this is what this year is about. I've shared this with you before. So that's why I'm doing these videos all about this. How do we really own this sacred space? How do we not just emanate our sacred sexual energy, which is the charisma of our life force invention and reinvention and constant rebirthing, but also how to manage it properly, so that you don't just give yourself away, perhaps to people who always have demands, so that you're not always just nice and tidy and clean, but you also have your measures, because we don't live in a perfect world where we can be always nodding and, just accepting everyone. But at the very end, you don't apply yourself through life force mastery. So people kind of take advantage of that if they themselves are not yet fully enlightened. So in many cases, I was shown that people who, in a way, they crave for something and they see something that maybe reflects that. So the first response is always reflection, right? So you see something, you love it, you resonate with it. But in many times in our human response, the very same, or it's kind of like a little lag behind, we quickly then enter the projection energy. So the reflection is authentic. You see the mirror, you like something. But then that part of you that is not yet fully whole within itself, perhaps something you don't yet know how to master or realize within yourself, so it's not enough to just be you. Or it's what you have or what you've created that's enough in this moment, then there's always going to be a little more lingering. So that's a part of this owning your sacred sexuality, because you're so full with this, what always moves through you, that you don't have the need for more. That's the first aspect. The second is to honor that, to learn that, we can say that, we can think that, but do we own it? Do we really walk this way? I've had someone who was writing me always these long messages, and I've always said to them, I'm busy, I can't even read all the time these long letters. They were huge. I said, I can't, I'm sorry, I just can't. And I said, oh, okay, you don't have to read them, but they kept writing them. And that's not embodied intelligence. Is you say, okay, I agree, but then you disagree through your actions. So it's not masterful, and it's not mature, because you're always craving and you're thinking that's your source. Give me more, give me more. And so a lot of people who are developing now these different levels and degrees, it doesn't have to be so compulsive. It doesn't have to be so, in a way, we say this is so psychotic. Not necessarily. It can be tiny little glitches that we have to become aware of, that we really polish our diamonds so that we're simply happy in our presence. We don't ask anything of anyone. I've talked to my friend and I've explained to her some of my recent developments, and she's so beautiful, that being. And she said to me, you are just so giving, and you don't ever ask anything of anyone. You just do everything yourself. So, but people don't get that. They don't get you because they don't know you, and they think they know you by looking at the videos, and that's really not knowing me. You see, I'm still a human. I have my own things and preferences and the way I function, and people project in this tiny box what they see because they start associating my work with me. And that's, again, personalizing the depersonalized and transversal or universal. This what our message is meant to should be shared. So it's very hard to respond consciously sometimes because, as my friend said to me, she said, you are so empathic and so pure. And people sometimes take advantage of that and trying to push on your guilty consciousness, like you don't do enough, you're not good enough. Because those of us who always strive for perfection, we always have a little bit of that nagging voice that tells us, well, you can do more. And in a way, when people do that and they want more from me, I go like, but what else can I give? I already give all of myself. I give all of my time to this. This is my work, and yet it's mine, and I enjoy doing it. But with people who can't tune into this group level and they want to personalize the experience of it, which is the interaction, that it's on a higher level where we exist as a group consciousness. If you don't know more about this, watch my videos about this or take a course. It's all there in the self-mastery journey. But a lot of people, they write me and they tell me, I don't want to learn from you. I just want to be your friend. And it's kind of like hidden aspect where they don't acknowledge you for what you truly have come here to do. They want something else, and that's kind of not in the menu. And the things that I offer on my page, they want other offerings. And it's kind of like they want, through their own filter, the experience that they basically are needing to create for their own selves. So it's a soul's way, a soul's language telling you this is what you need, but you have to become an energetic match internally to create an external resonance with that. So this is why we have reflection. Someone reflects to you something that you consciously truly want to express and create in your life. So when you own your sacred sexuality as this charismatic persona, that you basically become, everyone becomes like this once you master and own your life force and this creative spark that you are. But when I meet people who are also creatively, inspiredly, always working that way, that inspired way, these people, they just are happy to be in your space. They're happy to coexist. It's enough for them to just know that you're here and you're in a shared space. Often it's a physical distance, but they're happy. For them, it's enough. For people who are not fully in their sovereign self, it's not enough. And they have other requests. So I'm asking you, and this is what I've asked Spirit, where have we gone so much to this outpouring of the external, chasing for something out there or wanting something out there? Literally, I have to tell you, there's people who came across my work. They were not interested in my work. They were actually interested in me. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm sorry. This is my work. That's not my private life. No way, Jose. So I came across these scenarios when I saw that it's hard for people to still internalize. And we kind of, as a society, we're always tending to do more, have more. I like this, but can you do this as well? I share, so many things on my Instagram. Sometimes I do these playful readings, and then people say, but can you do one just for me? Or can you do just for me? Can you do all that? It's almost like we've stopped being grateful for what is already offered, and you cannot personalize by getting more and more. You have to personalize your experience by getting more within you and doing something that your life force mastery wants of you. Also, I want to address this friendship component because a lot of times I've witnessed this, that what we reference as humans as friendship, and you see something, oh, I want to be part of that. If you've ever had someone you really admired and instantly you wanted to be a part of their circle. It can be a famous person, it can be an author of a book you like, it can be me, because that's happening to me as well. Whatever, it doesn't matter, just someone you see somewhere. But have you noticed that when you approach something with this desire, which has a little bit of that implication of the need, or I want us to have this or to create this, without first even asking the person, but is it okay for me to, express this? I don't know if I ever had a letter when someone asked me if it's okay that they share something with me. They automatically write this long, it's like, it's natural, I'll read it. And it's really important for us to connect to the space within. That's our sacred sexuality. And that's why I'm putting this in this topic, because it's not separate. People say, is she going to talk about sacred sexuality? Why is this rambling about? It's not rambling. It's putting things that are really important for our human experience that's ascending, and for us to address these factors. Otherwise, we're going to be consciously, non-consciously, expressing ourselves. And it's going to be a constant, and it's going to be on a loop, like on a hamster wheel. So why is this a part of this? Is because you have to know that whatever you are, that essence of yours, when you're truly authentic, will always, in a way, in this human world, be a little coaxed and kind of like projected and twisted and turn around. But at the very bottom, for those of you who are truly walking this authentic path, you always have to keep returning back to you. So if you even had this impulse yourself, or someone you knew it, or you're witnessing this reality through them, what is the nature of this impulse? So let's say there's an author you really like, and I want to be part of their life, but the book you've just read is not them. They were just happening to channeling that information or writing that information, which is an awesome creation. But all of a sudden, humans, what we start to do is we want to personalize that depersonalized experience, which is a part of the group. So someone writes a book, it goes out into the public, it's a part of everyone, it's accessible to everyone, it's available to everyone, because let's face it, books aren't very expensive nowadays. So when we want more, we have to see, well, where are we personalizing the depersonalized, the group, the unity? So we want to be a part of something, just us, and we want this, and it's not yet unified. So that's not owning your sacred sexuality. On the other hand, where you do feel where this impulse maybe perhaps is coming from, maybe it's a part of you that tells you, wow, I want to be an author myself. Or I also want to live in nature like, Puruna does. I want to have this shared experience, but I do not relate it with her, or I do not relate my experience with someone else. So I've had examples, and this is very true, where I've noticed that people used my goodwill and my compassionate heart, because sometimes people did weird or even very disrespectful things to me, and I still respond and I still conversed with them, which, face it, not many people would do. If you had a stalker like I did, any other woman would just slam the door and never want to see that person again. But I still had so much compassion for everyone who came from a separated or fragmented perspective to a certain degree, kind of try to be there. But then, what my friend said to me lately, and it had me thinking, she said, these certain people, they're not looking for the light. They just dim it. They just put it down. And it's true. That's the filtering. That's the mastery of your energy, because when you give it away, you will feel it. You'll get depleted. The resources will get depleted, and your life force will start to wane and be drained, because that's what these people actually want. They don't want to learn from you. They want to be a part of your energy because they haven't learned to be master of their own, or sometimes they are so fragmented that they don't even know what that means. So of course they say, I don't want to learn from you, because they're not there yet at the level where they can start refining the process of their soul and this ascension experience. They still have lots of healing work to do, but because they're in that non-seeing, non-owned perspective, they put a lot of projection out there, which eventually you become a part of their life even when you're not. And this is, as you know, there's a lot of people who are psychotic do that, and they associate so much with their victims that they kind of want to smother them. At a certain extent, murder happens and things like that, and it is terrible. And it's just because you want to smother something. You don't want to enjoy in its beauty, like a flower. I don't ever pick flowers because I enjoy their beauty. I don't want to smother them. I don't want to ruin them. Maybe 3 times in my life I've actually picked a flower that was almost about to die off, because I don't know, flower said, pick me, you need me for healing or something. Like, it was a conscious exchange. But a lot of people come and invite it, because we've lost this healthy respect that we're still, in a way, we're unique, and we each have our own journey. So I've noticed that a lot of people have used my empathy, my compassion, my goodwill, my heartfelt love for everyone, basically. They wanted to use that. It's like, you're so compassionate, so you have to always be there for me and do this response, even when I'm totally neglecting that and not appreciating you and not seeing the boundaries. And they've used that to get into my personal life. And I've really had a strong awakening lately about this. And I said, you know what? No more, because it's been a part of my learning. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is for you to master your own self. A lot of people, what they experience, and I know because I read their letters, they go like, oh, I love this, and will you share this? And they go into every aspect of everything I've shared in these videos, because perhaps they so strongly associate or resonate with that. But it doesn't mean now they have to share every little ounce of their feelings with me, because I'm one person and there's like probably millions of people out there. So we have to really go inside our heart. What are the connections and communications that we are meant to share, that are proactive, that are energetically feeding, not draining, to not just others, to not just ourselves, but others as well? It's so important. And why is this a part of the sacred sexuality? Is because we're all sexual beings. So when I am just sitting here, I'm already beaming out. All my life force goes out, and sometimes it attracts nice things, things that honor and appreciate, and sometimes it backfires and it also brings things that need resolution, healing. But you, as a master of your life force, you have to know the limit, because when something goes, it wants to penetrate your sacred space in a way to use your goodwill, humility, and kindness, generosity of spirit, to the degree that you feel guilty if you don't act such a way or you write such a way. Because for me, I'm a guide. It's doesn't mean now in my personal life I have to act as a guide all the time. Do you see that? There's a difference, because I have to hold a space where people who truly want my guiding abilities and my what I have as benefits and blessings to share because of my immense vast amount of knowledge and wisdom, doesn't mean now people have to kind of penetrate into my personal life to be a part of my energy. It's not really authentic, and it's not enlightened. Okay, that's a part of the shadow human experience. So this is so important, because this brings us to preserving ourselves. Recently, I read something about energy saving, right? When you save money, it was like energy saving. So it's like you are a deposit, and how much of yourself will you give away each day to who? It has to come through a sort of filtering system in this planet, because everything is going sometimes in a crazy way. You have to know what is you, what is authentic, what is your path, and what are perhaps expectations from others, and where do you commune, where do you share, where can there be mutual benefits, and where can you say, no, my path is like this and I'm happy about it, and I don't feel separate from anyone else by going my own way, because we're already one, but we are so unique, and we each have our own assignments to master in this life. Okay, so now let's move on to this other part. So these things that are not conscious will cause a lot of entanglements and disempowerment. So I want to now say this third dimensional versus higher levels of density again will be reflected in this. So people might energetically benefit from something like what I'm sharing now, but then they want to personalize it, because people have still this filter, because they haven't learned to utilize this higher level of density energy. So they want to make it physical, right? So people resonate with something, oh, I got to make it physical. It's because this aspect that hasn't within you fully ascended yet wants to constantly recreate that in the physical reality, so you feel you're owning that. So I'm going to use a recent example of this friendship, right? Someone says, I want to be your friend. But have you had this experience in your life where every friendship you've ever had, everything that came in your life, even if it's just crystals or something like that, it came through complete resonance. You weren't looking for it. You're just looking at you, basically, or it was just there. And it was a natural, seamless experience, because a friendship is not something that you make happen. It's an essence of life, and it's there. It happens or not. Because when someone is meant to be in your life, you don't make it happen. When there's something that needs to play out, it's not within a certain structure. We should see each other monthly, daily, weekly. It should be like this. I truly, honestly, I don't like chats. I don't like internet exchange so much. I do it because it's my work. You see, again, there's a difference. But my personal self loves nature. I'm a completely nature being. So I can't really keep promises to many people, because I'm a free spirit. I go where life force calls me. This is my mission. And I'm that way for a reason. And the moment I feel people want to make me something I'm not, I will retreat. I will retract. And I will not come out of my hole, because I simply give unconditionally, but I always give in a way that's not asking anything in return. And when there's people who say, yeah, but I want this, I'm like, wait a minute. You might say we're in resonance, but it's not, because I never ask anything of anyone. So my dream for this humanity is that each being becomes so whole within themselves that they don't even necessarily see themselves as a giver, but simply lover of life. And what you do give, you give unconditionally, without any sorts of, this and that, and it's like a fine print. So this is so important, because we have to learn that this higher density experience, we don't always have to make it physical the way we do. Like my friend told me, she said, we don't have to see each other every day. We don't even have to commute. But when we do, it's like, oh, it's, that day I just knew I have to write her. And it's like an impulse from life force that is so beyond intelligence that we consider as being intelligent. So now I want to move to this part. here, as in explaining more about the relating, sorry, energy between two beings. And how is this so important on our ascending path? Because to be a master of sacred sexuality, okay, first we've learned, be your own sovereign. How? Well, you have to get acquainted with your sacred sexual energy. If you're wanting to know more about that path, I think one of my self-mastery courses is called, it is about sacred sexuality and how to own your own tantric path. And then there's Tantrika Life Force Mastery, and then there's so many courses that will help to align you with that path. Because let's face it, yes, these are times when we commune with others, but we each do it in our own way. And some of us are more hermits. I'm a hermit, it's how I am. I need to be that way because that's what I need, because I'm constantly receiving information for the group. So when I share for the group, it's already for everyone, and I don't feel the need, and I'm exhausted if I have to answer every email, and almost sometimes it's almost like, being a robot, each and every generic response. I don't want to be a robot because I'm not. I love everything about life that's organic. And I don't like these automatic responses. We have to write to everyone the same thing. Like, I'd rather share it in this organic, authentic way that is me. And if I influence people in a seamless way and fashion through my messages, that's enough. And then they have to bring that through their own lives, to make their own physical lives important and growing, and to cultivate their physical relationships. Because what I do through teaching, in most cases, is not physical, so the essence of this higher knowledge is not physical, but the application into our lives is. So this is why this is so important, that you first master this. And if you have never felt in your life that you are enough, and if you, I don't know, you lie somewhere in a beautiful meadow full of green grass, and you don't need anything else, but it's just you, it's your life force, it's your love for life, it's the infinite beauty of nature, and for you, that's enough. That's how I am. So I don't need a lot in my life because it distracts me a lot on my path. And this is, I'm sharing with you because it may have importance in that regard. But that is how, again, this is my example on how life force functions through me. If someone is on a dharmic mission where they need to interact with a lot of people because that's just their mission, that's how life force will guide them. Do you see? So there's such perfection in our unique translation of this divine language that we have to stay authentic to. So if someone tells you, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I want, this is what I need, but that's their vision, you see, you have to ask yourself, is that also my vision? Is that my framework? Is that my pillar? So I talk about this co-creation self because that's the pillar. And mastering of this sacred essence, or the sacred sexual essence, is how you create, how you engage with people, when you don't engage, what you will give your energy to, what you won't. That is so important because you live in this physical world that is becoming more and more refined. And through your conscious engagements and relationships, you do the very same. And from the micro level, you get it to the macro level, and it's a universal experience. So, hooks, right? Energy hooks happen when we, like I said, we only want to make physical that which is truly an enriched, resonant experience based on reflection. Reflection is an innate program of Source. It's how Source reacts, experiences, in this physical realm. So when there's two people, right, they feel reflection between each other, and the energy is constantly interpenetrating. Okay, so this person has their own sexual energy, this person has their own sexual energy, and so in some cases people will be starting to pull together. But what is the pull? What is the drive of their seeming temporarily or more permanent, I don't know, union? So a very important thing here to know is that this highest level is when there's this constant spirit overflowing, and this is when you are unconditionally, undividedly, devotedly, simply in a presence of love for that person. So let's say someone tells me, oh, I love you, Polona, right? But then they do something which basically expresses a more egotistical nature, where they're actually expressing what they want from me, and it's not the same as loving me. So if that person truly loved me, they would care for how I feel within the experience. A lot of people don't. They're just expressing what they want, what they need, because we're so programmed. It's nothing like this wrong with you, but this is the whole program, that we constantly are expressing our own egoic needs. So true love is when that being asks nothing of me, they want nothing from me, and yet they have full undivided attention into how I feel, what's important for me, how I love, how I am, what do I need right now? And they know that only I know what I need. So a lot of times, I get these emails when people tell me what I need or what I should be doing. I'm like, you don't know what I need. I'm sorry. That's or sometimes people say, I'm writing this because it's for your highest good. Well, you don't know my highest good. I'm sorry. You have to work at the footsteps of your highest good. So a lot of times we say things that are not really in alignment with the highest truth, which is complete liberation of your soul, your ascended self, your free spirit nature. Because I can say I'm a free spirit, but so are you. Perhaps you're not fully living it. But everyone in truth is a free spirit. That's the whole thing. So this highest order of relating energy is when this spiritual connection then simply overflows. So it can reach from the level of spirit into their physical vessels through the womb area, or the base of the spine, and it's just overflowing. So you will know more about this energy interaction and how you master this within yourself first before moving into relating experience in my Tantrika Life Course mastery course. So then on the other hand, when there's these hooks and attachments happening, even codependency, is when people, instead of connecting from here, I always start my sessions with imagine this infinity symbol between us. So what we receive is from when there's this dot in the middle of the infinity symbol. This is when the spirit comes in. It's not for me, it's not from you, but it's from spirit. So that's this pure and conditional divine guidance or divine guide level. And this is the ultimate, which many people still they want. They might feel, oh, I need this, but they haven't yet mastered how to apply that, how to get there. It takes practice. It also takes, for some people, a lot of earth relationships, how it is, eventually they learn. So when there is complete overflowing, right, this is what I'm talking about. But eventually, eventually there's something that might happen if these people, for example, had blockages still, and they experience these physical blockages. Even this completely overflowing experience, of course, wouldn't say these two people are now just perfect, just floating. Wow, they're so perfect, they don't need anything, because we have, again, human experience factor. So within that template, right, what comes up will show the point, or the point forward for that resolution of the energy to liberate itself. In most cases, when people say, oh, have you heard about twin flames, or why are these relationships so intense? That is, for me, the biggest lie, because it is so generalized. You can't say that. Any relationship that you say it's within your conscious counterpart will be only as intense as your inner non-integrated polarities still are, that are playing out. So when two people who have integrated their own inner polarities, when they meet, that won't be intense. It will be beautiful. It will be harmonious, because they themselves have achieved harmonious state of existence within them. It's just how it is. So you can't apply that to every relationship, to every label, such as twin flame. It is so not truly acknowledging the whole evolutionary pathway of the soul and the human form. So when these things happen, right, people will experience all sorts of feelings. And that's why owning your sacred sexuality is so important, because when that happens, each person will also have to learn how to withdraw the energy, how to contract the energy, because if at that moment you can't penetrate yourself, the hook will take place, right? And that will create a dependency where that person might think, I need that person. Or that person might feel, oh, that they have something that I need, or they are the desiring link, or something that will keep me on this feeling nature, based feeling that I am needing this resolution, or that I am experiencing this resolution. Okay, so now I want to talk about the osmosis. Okay, the osmosis is a natural movement, right? We know it from biology, chemistry, I don't know, from everything. This usually happens when there is a density vibration level difference. So that is why, this is where the story gets interesting. Why is it so important to, okay, first you master your own sacred sexual energy, how you emanate your charisma, but also how you need to at times contract it. You don't contract yourself, you just pull it inwards, because you don't want to give it off to just everyone, right? This means owning your sacred space. That's what the sacred space means, because when someone understands that, they naturally don't want to superimpose upon your auric field. They will have no need, because they're masterful within themselves. So when this osmosis actually process happens when one being would be at the lesser vibration level than the other, and this is where the majority of people who are having sexual acts unconsciously are having difficulties, because let's say women don't know how much they actually take into their womb, or how many light codes the masculine will take out if they're not conscious. So what happens here is that a lot of times they keep pulling it out of the womb, you know, or it's the vice versa, you know, if the other individual might not be in their own embodied sovereignty and life first mastery, which in in the majority of the cases it doesn't exist yet in people. But when you are, you will have a healthy filtering system within yourself. Okay, so this density vibration level in many cases will occur because there's either a hook from something that's familiar to you, or you're dragging it from parallel lifetimes, we say, or parallel, because we call it simultaneous lifetime realities. But there's this tendency to hook onto you, and you vibrationally attract that, not necessarily the equal vibration or something that is of the nature to help you expand on that level. When it's something of the lesser nature, it keeps pulling you down, because the osmosis means that the higher or more refined energy, let's call it like that, or density, will always migrate towards that which is less developed or needs more healing, needs more light. So in cases when people who are of non equalized kind of vibration level with each other, they'll kind of steal energy from each other because they're not yet conscious. So to talk about sex as an act, and a lot of people nowadays I see talking about it just like it's sports, even tarot readers, like, okay, just going to have more sex, okay, like it's a plate of food you will have. And when you are in this ascension path, you no longer think of it that way. You think that everything you take in your body has to come through conscious acknowledgement. You start taking in foods that are of, lesser density. You don't want to have that in your body. You don't want to have things that are not integrated, perhaps, of a certain individual become a part of the projection instead of the reflection. So, when two lovers first meet and they fall in love, it's because they're quickly tuning into that pure source state vibration of simply reflecting one another to each other. And they're just happy enough to just be in each other's presence. That's the first date. It's how source experiences. Then the next stage kicks in, like I said, we quickly move into the projection, and we go like, oh, but I want you to do this and be that, and we have to have time like this, and da 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 da. So for us to be a conscious master of the self vibrationally, own our sacred alchemy, means that we need to learn to give to ourselves first. Especially if you have been associating so much with the label the giver. The giver produces the taker, right? I have here somewhere written, yeah, the giver-taker relationship, which is a disempowering relationship instead of the conscious relationship. So you think you're a giver, you will attract takers. So you have to, in a way, move into this neutralized zone, which is the zero polarity point that is the merge of the inner masculine, feminine forces of creation within you. So why is that so important? Because the balance and the balanced relationship truly occur at the essence level to the essence level expression. That's this. That's the infinity symbol. You simply love someone, but you have no expectations whatsoever of them. If they, by any chance, have something to offer you and to give you, you are most graciously grateful, and that's it. And that's enough. And this level is always enough. This level, it's never enough. You always want more. And I know a lot of people don't want to associate that with the sacred sexuality. We say it's a mental pattern, but let us not forget, before we are mental beings, we're truly electromagnetic beings, which is what electricity and magnetism are all about. It's the inner polarities, feminine, masculine forces of creation. So the main essence to master, beyond just, the thoughts that you think, it's because that energy resonates at that level. So we're always trying to change our thoughts. Well, the essence is vibrating still like this. It's not that the way around. You have to go to the core, you have to do the alchemy, and then the thoughts naturally just simply disintegrate from that lower state to, becoming something more refined and higher in nature. So down to this point is that it's still this empowering to be the giver and then the taker. When it's something I offer unconditionally, I don't see myself as a giver. I see myself as a creator. So when I do videos, I'm creating. And when there's people who are in a way receiving that as a gift, and it helps them in their path, and they acknowledge it, and they feel they have benefited from it, if their gift to me or anyone else would be felt in that way, that they feel they want to energetically reciprocate because the energy was exchanged, not just knowledge, then they would have to naturally feel that call. You know, sometimes people would say, oh, I owe you for this. We don't owe anyone anything. But when it's conscious, it's based on your own energetic reactions, or responses within you that tell you through your own life force what is gifting you unconditionally, so that you can gift it in this source connection. Not that one is giver, the other is taker. That is an infinite loop. It's like chasing a tail. So the real, the highest ultimate we're all striving for is this. It's this expression of the infinite spirit. I honor you. That's what the namaste means. My divinity within me honors divinity within you. And we know we're one, but we're also unique. So to cherish someone and what they need, you have to first tune to yourself, because you can't tune into another essence if you haven't yet experienced the essence level. And there's many videos I have on the essence level, because the essence level is when you are truly connecting to life within the group formation. And from that essence level, you can connect to any aspect, any being within creation, but it's not mentally. So it's not through your thoughts, expectations, through these belief systems. It's basically truly the emanation of life force itself, when you feel another being. So you wouldn't even say, I know you. You say, I feel you. Because that's the gift of life, and that's the true mastery we're here aiming for. Not like it's something so hard to achieve, because when you put your work there, which means conscious contemplation and acknowledgement, not hiding it from yourself or others, that brings us each time to a new step. And imagine, it is so sacred, each and every one space. So when you truly love someone, you know that they're still in a way a being that has their own experience. So you love them so much that you actually value them the same way. And that's all the higher beings and my own group family of the Elohim. It's a different love. It has a different connotation. Love is seen as this infinite multitude of highest respect for all life forms, and every being is so unique and sacred. There's no possible interference there. And for me, sometimes on Earth, it's difficult to experience all this interference and people poking at you and wanting things from you, and it's never enough. And it's like, wow, does it ever get old? Does it ever get enough? And like I said, it's hard for sensitive empaths, and that's why I shared this video, so that you can't help yourself when you have perhaps similar experiences, or because we all do as humans. And the more conscious you are, the more you will have them, because you are here to help consciousness to rise. So you know that you will feel things, you will be a part of things, and yet you will know what to do about it, because as a conscious master of the self, you will always return back to yourself, always back to the self, until you have reached enough illumination or light intelligence to be in this loop within the other, so that it's truly is a sacred relationship. It's based on sacred sexuality. So we say the sex part, the eros part, is such a tiny part of it. Imagine how many things as a human you're participating with, how many things or aspects of creation you're a part of. So that's just one aspect. So how can you say that sacred sexuality is equal sex? It doesn't. There's so much more to you, to us as human beings, but we have to start at the core. So that magnetism, which simply draws people to you, how will your electric masculine nature respond to that? You know, are you feeling something? Are you wanting to move towards that energy, or does that energy feels like you need to contract? I always know, but I still had experiences where people try to push on my doubt button. And every time I felt, wow, I really should have honored myself more. And that was the learning curve experience for me. And as a part of this being, you know, right now where we are in our ascension, this is something so important for us to master. So every time, if you've noticed, when I talk a long time, my nose gets all, you know, clogged, so I can barely speak, because that's what happens. So for me, you know, I know myself. I know my needs. I know my mission. I know my life purpose. I know my physical human preferences. And sometimes people think that, oh, this teacher aspect or the guide aspect is the same as the human. No, sometimes I have completely human perspectives and preferences because that's the beauty of it. We bring this to our human experience and to our personal enriched realities that are so individually unique, and that's the beauty of it all. So, those of you who perhaps thought this will be more about the sex part of the whole equation, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Maybe next time, I don't know. This is just a natural part of our life. But when you move into a being who is an illumined conscious being, you will see that sexuality is simply an essence level. It is your exchange, your interaction with the world, everything you touch upon, everything you share, everything you speak, it all becomes imbued with this essence that you are. And you can't experience this mentally. You might watch the video, she's like, what's she talking about? I want that as well. When you have your experience of it, that's when it's integrated. That's when you are really living in it. I might give you glimpses and clues, but your reality is playing out, right? Within yourself, within your beautiful world of life force uniqueness. So if you want to learn more, there's Life Force Mastery courses and Cosmic Dance for the Galactic Human, and of course Galactic Human Consciousness and Planetary Service. There's going to be more in the next video about this topic. And remember, be conscious, see where your energy is draining, because a lot of times people just don't realize, but we are meant to have reality, right, in a relationship experience that is based on equality. And when something is not equal energetically, vibrationally to you, it will always demand more of you that you're able to give it, because it needs to learn how to give to itself. So be conscious about every single sexual relationship or, entanglement you have to witness it. You have to see, you have to observe the energy, how it's playing out. And many years ago, when I became aware of that, I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to do it that way. That's not me. And people started to be, well, what's happening to her? And I'm like, I'm just owning my tantric life force. I know what it means for me. I know what, for me, sexuality is about. And for me to maintain my highest frequency, to be able to do my mission, I have to have responsibility for my energy levels, which is, of course, all of my being, all of my luminosity. So take care. I hope this helped you to acknowledge how you yourself can better apply yourself to the world and be in the world, be with others, and at the same time be uniquely you. Thank you for watching. So much love and power as always. Bye bye.